Now I want to refresh your memory regarding the last lecture. In the last lecture we have discussed the customary divorce and in this regard customary divorce I have pointed out that those who are coming from the area where the tribal communities are residing, and if they are planning for the practice, then it is very essential for them just to firstly make the inquiry whether any custom is prevailing between the part in relation to divorce. If any custom which is prevailing in the parties, naturally the divorce has also been recognized under the Hindu law, and that practice will continue. The proper section is 29(2), where the customary divorce has been recognized. And if the parties have any custom, naturally under that custom, if the divorce is being permitted, then Hindu Marriage Act will not apply, but the divorce may be granted on the basis of the custom which are prevailing in the parties. So this is very clear picture you should have. Here Hindu does not apply, please be clear in your mind, and do not try to apply the Hindu Marriage Act. Here only the custom will apply, and according to the custom, the divorce can be granted. Another part I also want to put before you. There is some disturbance. Please off the speaker. Disturbances are coming out. Please off the speaker. Now, after that, another part which I have left on that day, today I want to discuss, and this is the last point which I want to discuss on the matrimonial causes, that is divorce. And that is being called as divorce under the special enactment. What do you mean by special enactment? If you go through the special enactments, you can get actually in two states. One is Travancore, another is Cochin, the state of Travancore and Cochin, where you can get there were certain special enactments which were prevailing in that state, and these enactments were actually being passed before the Hindu Marriage Act, and these enactments still continued. And here divorce under this enactment may be given. Why may be given? Because actually Hindu Marriage Act 1959 does not repeal these special enactments. Since they are not being repealed under the special enact, they are not being repealed by the Hindu Marriage Act. Therefore, the special enactment itself prevail. Here in the special enactment, two kind of divorce you can get it. One is being called as the divorce by mutual consent, and the second one, that is divorce by executing the deed. Two kind of divorces are recognized. Mutual consent means divorce by mutual consent means this is the divorce which is actually recognized under the special enactments, that if both the parties are agreed, then the divorce may be granted. Similarly, also divorce by executing the deed, it means that if the proper tribunal or proper panchayat has passed the deed, that deed shall also be recognized as valid one. Here two community, particularly in India, two community we have, and in this community actually matrilineal society, system of society is being actually followed. One is called as Marmakhatayam and another is called as Aliya Santana. Here in these two communities, Marmakhatayam, Aliya Santana, in this community actually the matrilineal society is prevailing, and the divorce are being actually recognized on the basis of mutual consent. So matrilineal society, I think that you are all knowing well. Here most of the rest part of India we have patriarchal society, and patriarchal society means here the male who is the dominating, and in matrilineal society actually the female, they are dominating. So here special enactments which we have to discuss today, these special enactments actually I have already pointed out that they are being found in Travancore and the Cochin and somewhere Madras state also. These enactment which I want to put before you, they are Madras Aliya Santana Act 1924, Madras Ali Santana Act 1924, Travancore Izwa Act 1925, Cochin Nair Act 1931, Madras Marmakhataya Act 1933, and Cochin Marmakhatayam Act 1935. These are the enactments which are being passed, and these are being passed in Madras or the state of Cochin and Travancore. The society on which this enactment is going to apply, the name is reflecting that like Madras Aliya Santana Act, this is applying in Aliya Satar community. Travancore Ijwa Act 25, it is applying on the Ijwa communities. Cochin Nair Act, it is applied in the Cochin part. Madras Marmakhataya Act 1933, it is also applicable in the area of the Madras. Similarly, also the Cochin Marmakhatayam Act 1935, it is also applied in the area of the Cochin. So these are the special enactments, and these special enactments were being passed before the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, and they are also providing the provision for the divorce. Since they are providing the provisions for the divorce, therefore, if any question arises in these communities, in these areas, they are not being dealt by the Hindu Marriage Act, but they will be dealt by these special enactments. So these special enactments are very important, and moreover, when the special enactments will apply, naturally the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, particularly the provision of section 23, 24, 25, 26, this is not going to apply. So this is all about these special enactments, and one thing should be remembered in your mind, that these special enactments, they were being passed before the Hindu Marriage Act. Since they are not being repealed by the Hindu Marriage Act, therefore they are still continued. And here the provision for the divorce is being provided. I have already pointed out there are certain enactments. There are certain enactments which are being here, and under these enactments, here divorce may be granted and that divorce shall be valid. If divorce is being granted under the special enactments, naturally section 23, 24, 25, 26 of the Hindu Marriage Act, it will not apply. So this is all about this matrimonial causes. If any person having any question, please come forward. Otherwise, I am going to discuss another topic, and that topic which I want to take up today, that is the succession. Any question from any side? No question? Any question?
Sir, I have a question, but that is from the sources of Hindu law. If you, when the class is about to end, I can we can discuss that.
Actually, we have already discussed the sources of Hindu law.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was actually going through the previous notes, and I just came now. Couldn't understand the part regarding the difference between Mitakshara and Daibhag, where one. Just a second. Regarding, sir. So the difference between religious efficacy and blood of the same particles.
This is actually fundamentals.
Yes, it's a bit confusing as well, sir.
But this is very clear. This is fundamental for the Mitakshara and the Daibhag. This is actually the vital difference between the Mitakshara and Daibhag. Here religious efficacy means what? Here actually succession is based on the religious efficacy. The person who is providing the religious benefit to any person who is being dead, naturally he will succeed the property first. So this is being called as religious efficacy. And moreover, under the principle of the religious efficacy, this is actually applicable in the Daibhag. Here in each and every Hindu family, please switch off your headphone, otherwise it will create a disturbance.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, religious efficacy means what? Here religious benefit is being provided. There are certain particular days in the Hindu laws where every Hindu is providing the benefit to his ancestor. This is being called as Pitru Paksh. And here every Hindu is providing the benefit to his ancestor by offering Pindadan. So the person who is providing the Pindadan to his ancestor, naturally he will be entitled to succeed his property. And the person who is offering the Pindadan very closely, he will succeed the property first. And the person who is offering the Pindadan remotely, he will get the property later on. So this is the principle which is being actually applicable in the Daibhag. Now in Mitakshara, the succession is not based on the religious benefit, but the succession is based on the blood of the same particle. Here, particularly Yagnavalk, he was of the view that Vigyaneshwar, not Yagnavalk, Vigyaneshwar, actually this is the commentary written by Vigyaneshwar on Yagnavalk Smriti. So here Vigyaneshwar was very clear on this point that succession should not be based on the religious benefit, but the succession should be based on the blood of the same particle. If the two persons carrying the blood of the same particle, naturally they will succeed the property, and the person who has a more similarity, he will succeed the first, and the person who has a lesser similarity, he will succeed the later on. So this is the difference between religious efficacy and blood of the same particle. Okay.
All right, sir. Could you just explain with the example the not religious efficacy one, sir? Blood of the same particles. I'm quite clear, sir. The religious efficacy that is getting.
Religious efficacy means suppose the two persons are providing pindadan to the ancestor.
Yes, sir.
One is the son, another is the grandson. Who will succeed the property first? Son is more closer.
Son.
Son is more closer to the deceased person. So any benefit which is provided by son, naturally it will be received by the ancestor and he will succeed the property first.
Sir, yes, sir. Suppose my father. Supposedly, let's assume that my father had no son and only had a daughter, whereas his brother had a son. And if suppose his son performed the religious benefit, then since our then will
the
he
question
succeed?
is very clear. I can get I get your question.
Yes, sir.
Here actually, so far as the brothers are concerned,
yes, sir,
and the daughters are concerned, here you should be clear in your mind that daughter, no doubt, she cannot offer the pindadan to the ancestor, but the daughter's son is offering the pindadan to the ancestors. So
Yes,
naturally, the daughter's son will be closer than the brother.
Yes, sir.
And he will succeed the property first, and brother's son, they will succeed the property later on.
Okay, sir.
Now, any more question? Any person having any question? Now I am proceeding towards the succession. This is another topic.
सर
But before, हाँ,
सर सेक्शन 14 में जो टाइम लिमिट दिया हुआ है फेयर ट्रायल के लिए 1 ईयर का, वो अगर
this is
अगर
not
उसे
time limit. This is the bar which is imposed.
यस
This
सर
is the bar which is imposed that after the marriage, the party should wait for 1 year. But two exceptions are given. One is exceptional hardship and second is exceptional depravity. So on the ground of exceptional hardship and exceptional depravity, the petition may be filed within 1 year also. Okay?
सर अगर हार्डशिप भी नहीं है और डेप्रेविटी भी नहीं है और अगर 1 ईयर का टाइम फॉलो नहीं किया,
No. Then this is the bar which is applied, and within 1 year the petition for dissolution of marriage or divorce cannot be filed, because at least some time should be waited. I am not getting the question. How many?
Sir, how many courts have power to give the decree for divorce?
Or how many means what? Here his
Sir.
standard is laid down, and it is written that divorce petition shall be filed before the district court. And since the family courts also been constituted, and they are being empowered to grant the divorce, then this is very simple. So here only family courts, if the family courts are there, then the family court is entitled, having the jurisdiction to grant the divorce. If there is no family court, then district court is entitled to grant the decree. Other courts have no jurisdiction to grant the decree. Okay?
Sir, what is the power of panchayat that in the customary theory of the divorce? Sir?
This is the power of the panchayat. If there is a custom in between the parties, if there is no custom in the parties, then the panchayat has no power to pass the decree. So firstly, it is required to establish there is one custom prevailing amongst the parties. If it has been established, then only the power is given to the panchayat. Otherwise, the panchayat cannot get the power. So here, customary divorce, it is very much required. Firstly, the custom should be established or proved. Then the jurisdiction will go to the caste panchayat or gram panchayat, whatever the body may be. Okay. Now I am proceeding towards the Hindu Succession Act. And in Hindu Succession Act, before entering the discussion, I want to clear certain points which are very much required to be made clear in order to understand the Hindu Succession Act 1955. Moreover, Section 6 is the one of the section where Hindu Succession Act Section 6, where the reference is coming out of the Mitakshara co-partitionary. I think that we have already discussed the two schools. One is Mita, another is the Daibhag. And so far as the Mitakshara co-partitionary is concerned, it has a unique feature. Firstly, I want to discuss the Mitakshara co-partitionary, and then we shall proceed to discuss this succession. In Mitakshara co-partitionary, there is a unique feature. It is different than the joint family. Joint family, any person can tell the meaning of the joint family. What is the meaning of the joint family? Any person? What is the meaning of joint family? Joint family means what? When you can say that this is the joint family, any person may come out, because I think that you are all living in the joint family.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, I think your husband and wife, your father and mother-in-law जब साथ में रह रहे हैं तो सभी को joint family बोलेंगे.
अच्छा, और भाई रह रहे हैं तो joint family में नहीं है?
हाँ बिल्कुल सर, सारे मतलब भाई बहन माता पिता सारे.
नहीं तो क्या? What is the parameter?
Sir, when there is no partition of the ancestral property and the ancestral property is combinedly owned by the family.
No, this is not so.
Sir, where three generations live together.
No, this is also not. Joint family means
So undivided family.
undivided. That is different concept. It is coming out from the Income Tax and the Wealth Tax Act. Hindu undivided family, it is different. Joint family is different. Joint family means all the persons who are living together, they are actually having a common ancestor. Very clear. In the third way you can define the joint family. Joint family means the members who are living together. Who are living together and they are actually having the common ancestor. It is not required that common ancestor should live. It may be possible that the common ancestor may die. That's why you can get the joint family amongst the brothers. You can also get the joint family amongst the uncle and the nephews. Are you getting my point? You can also get the joint family amongst the grandfather on the one hand and the sons of another grandfather. So here common ancestor should be there. That is the first requirement. If there is a common ancestor and if the family members are living together, naturally this is being actually called as joint family. So for joint family, the one thing is essential that the family should live together, and the second thing, it is also required that they should have a common ancestor. If both the elements are fulfilled, then they are being called as a joint family. Now, I am talking about the co-partitionary. I have already pointed out that here, the word which is used, that co-partitionary, and the co-partitionary, you can get this word in both. Both means in Mitakshara as well as the Daibhag. In Mitakshara, you can get Mitakshara co-partitionary. In Daibhag, you can get the Daibhag co-partitionary. Co-partitionary means what? Firstly, I am coming on the point of the co-partitionary of the Mitakshara. Here, co-partitionary means if there is a last holder of the property, last holder means he is the eldest member. He is the eldest member in the family, if he is living with the three generation means apart from the last holder of the property. The last holder of the property is the X, and suppose he is living with his son, grandson, great-grandson. This is the three generation. This body is known as coparcenary. So any father means he is the last holder of the property. If he is living with the son, grandson, great-grandson, three generation, all four generations, they are being actually categorized as a coparcenary. Suppose the father is being dead. Now the coparcenary will counted not from the father. If he is being dead, it shall be counted from the son. Now son, grandson, great-grandson, and fourth generation, great and great-grandson, they are constituting the coparcenary. So this is actually the concept which is prevailing for the coparcenary. And in this concept of the coparcenary, here the principle which is applicable, particularly in Mitakshara, that rule of survivorship will apply. Rule of survivorship means they are being called as a copartner. And if any person dies, the property will not devolve according to principle of succession, but the property will devolve according to the survivorship. Survivorship means who survives. जो जीवित बचेगा वो उसका शेयर ले लेगा. It means suppose the family is being constituted of father, grandfather, father, son, grandson, great-grandson. Suppose the family is constituting only three generation and plus one father, four generation. Suppose the father is being dead. Here, rule of succession will not apply. The copartners means son, grandson, great-grandson, who are remains, they will get the property by the rule of survivorship. So this is the unique feature you can get in Mitakshara, and since this is the unique feature and survivorship principle will apply naturally, this is up to the fourth generation, the survivorship principle will be there. And the person who survives, he will the property. Now another unique feature of the coparcenary, particularly in Mitakshara, this is being called as right by birth. Right by birth means son, grandson, great-grandson, when they are being born in the family, only by birth, they are entitled to get their shares. This is being called as a right by birth. So it is very important here that in Mitakshara coparcenary, right by birth is recognizing, and also survivorship principle will apply, and both are actually making a family that here the family which is constituting of the copartners, their interests are not predictable. The interests of these family members or the copartners are fluctuating, and it is not actually predictable, it is unpredictable. So since they are unpredictable and fluctuating, therefore here coparcenary, particularly in Mitakshara, we cannot say that any person having any particular interest in the family. How the interest will be determined? The interest will be determined by way of the partition, and the partition when claimed, partition means that the share of each copartner shall be determined. So this is very important part, particularly in the Mitakshara coparcenary. Here the unique feature or incident, better to say incident of the Mitakshara coparcenary is first one, the interest of the copartners, they are fluctuating and unpredictable. The second one incident Here the members of the co-partner, members of the family or the co-partner, they are entitled for maintenance. They are entitled for maintenance. Another feature is co-partner has a right. Co-partner has a right that they can challenge the alienation made by any other co-partner, and they can challenge it by way of filing the suit. Similarly, also, they have also right to claim the partition. So all the co-partner, they have right to claim the partition. So these are the things which are very essential to understand the concept of co-partnery amongst the Akshara. Mitakshara, that is one body. This body is narrower than the joint family. In joint family, there is no restriction. Not only fourth generation people, they can live together, but the generation of all the people, they can live together if they are being from having the common ancestor. But so far as the co-partnery is concerned, it is only limited up to the fourth generation, not fourth generation, not beyond the fourth generation. So this is very important thing. You should have to keep in your mind. Now, I am proceeding to discuss another thing which is very important. Here, particularly in Mitakshara, we have two kind of the property. One is called as ancestral property. This is called as co-partnery property. And the second one is called as third property. So far as the co-partnery properties are concerned, here the son, grandson, great-grandson, they are getting the property only by the birth. This is called as unobstructed heritage. This is being called as apratibandha dai. Apratibandha means without any pratibandh. Pratibandh, this is the Hindi word. तो बिना किसी प्रतिबंध के जो है वो दाय माने property, they can get the property. Only by birth they are getting the property. So this is being called as that this is the property which is being called as ancestral property, and this is co-partnery property, where only the son, grandson, great-grandson, they are getting their share only by the birth. Now this is regarding the co-partnery of the Mitakshara. Now I am co-partnery of the Dai Bhag. You will be surprised after comparing the co-partnery of the Mitakshara with the Dai Bhag. In Dai Bhag, actually the peculiar feature is, so long as the father is alive, the son, they cannot get any property. So long as the father is alive, son cannot get any property right. After the death of the father, the son can succeed the property. It means that suppose a family is consisting of a father and the three sons. So long as the father is alive, the three sons, they are not entitled to succeed any property. They can get the property only after the death of the father. It means that when the father being dead, all the sons, when they are living together, all the sons, they are living together. They are constituting the co-partnery, and this co-partnery is being called as Dai Bhag co-partnery. The second unique feature of the Dai Bhag co-partnery is that here the share of the each co-partner is fixed. Suppose here the father and the three sons are there, as I have taken the example, and so long as the father is alive, the son, they cannot entitled to succeed any share. When the father is being dead, now the son, they are entitled to succeed the property, and their share are fixed. This is not fluctuating. Every son will succeed the share of 1/3, and they will succeed that share, and they can live united. And when they are living united, this particular kind of the body is being called co-partnery under the Dai Bhag. And here under the Dai Bhag co-partnery, the unique feature is that son cannot get any share so long as the father is alive. After the death of the father, the son can only get the property. So this is actually the unique feature which is being there. Some reflections are also coming out. Whether the daughter can also succeed the property, answer is yes. Here, son and daughters, both are entitled to succeed the property. But so long as the father is alive, neither the daughter nor the son, they cannot succeed any property. Now, another unique feature, here share is very much defined. When they are succeeding the property, then their shares are very limited. As I have taken the example of father having the 3 sons, when the father is being dead, all 3 sons, they will succeed their definite share, 1/3, 1/3 and 1/3. They can get this. Here, so far as the defined share is concerned, it is not necessarily equal. It may be equal, it may not be equal. Depending upon the circumstances, suppose any son who is dead before the death of the father. Now, if he has 2 sons, naturally the property will divide amongst the sons and the grandsons. And the son, they will get the 1/3, 1/3, and the grandson, if their numbers are 2, then they will get 1/6 and 1/6. Therefore, I am using the technical word that the share of the each co-person, that is fixed one, this is very determined, defined share. Now, another question is very important. Here, unity of possession may be possible, but the community of interest is not being there. In Mitakshara, there is a community of interest. Community of interest means if co-partners are the 4, then so long as the partition has not taken place, every co-partner has share in every property. This is called as the community of interest. On the property, here is a share of each and every co-partner. But here, so far as the Daibhag is concerned, here actually in the Daibhag, there is no community interest, but there is a unity of possession. Why community of interest is not there? Because here the shares are being defined. Properties are being partitioned. Please off the mic. So here the properties are shared. Properties are defined. And unity of possession means, suppose one of the member is possessing the property, that possession shall be treated as a possession by all. This is being called as unity of possession. So unity of possession also applies in relation to Mitakshara. And the same unity of possession will also apply in relation to Daibhag. Unity of possession means, suppose you are having any co-partnery or the joint family, and you are here studying, whether you have a possession over your property? No, because you are at Banaras and your property is situated in Bihar. But suppose your father or any brother, if he is holding the property, he is holding the property not his own behalf, but on your behalf also. This is being called as a unity of possession. Moreover, another thing, doctrine of survivorship will not apply, particularly in the Daibhag. This is unique feature of the Mitakshara and co-partnery, particularly in Mitakshara, it is actually being survivorship principle which is made applicable. Similarly also, in Mitakshara you can get 2 kinds of property. One is called as co-partnery property, another is called as the separate or self-acquired property. But in Daibhag, kind of the property do not exist. Only one kind of the property exists. Now, one thing more I want to point out, and that is very important and crucial. Now, in Mitakshara, one thing is very important in Mitakshara, that female cannot be member or co-partner in Mitakshara family, in Mitakshara co-partnery. But so far as the Daya Bhag is concerned, here Daya Bhag, the female may be co-partner also. Like the daughter, if there is a daughter, she can also succeed the property from her father, and she can live with her brothers. So she can succeed the property. But the question is, suppose in Daya Bhag, only females are being there, no male is there, whether constitute co-partnery? Answer is no. Please be careful, because this problem is being asked most of the time, because some person have the concept that particularly in Daya Bhag, female are also being entitled to succeed the property. But ultimately the question is, suppose there is only females which are constituting the Daya Bhag co-partnery, whether that co-partnery can exist? Answer is no, because only the female cannot constitute the co-partnery. Requirement is that one male should be there. So that's all. I am not getting the question. What was your question? Because these are the certain things which I want to put before you before discussing the succession. After death of the father, naturally the daughter will succeed the property. They can succeed the property, but only female, they cannot constitute the co-partnery. For constituting the co-partnery in the Daya Bhag, it is essential that one male should be there. If they are all the female, naturally they cannot constitute the co-partnery. So this is the fundamental. If you have any doubt, please come out, because I am going to discuss section 6 of the Hindu Succession Act, where the provisions are being laid down for succession of Mitakshara co-partnery interest. So firstly, it is very much required to understand what is the meaning of Mitakshara co-partnery, what is the meaning of Mitakshara family, then you will be able to understand the section 6. So if any doubt you have in your mind, please come out. Otherwise, when I will discuss the section 6, naturally, it will be quite difficult for you to understand it. Any question? No question? Any question, please? Now, Succession Act. Two fundamental things I want to put before you, before opening the discussion of the Hindu Succession Act. Two words are very prominent. One is as agnet, another is being called as a cognate. Agnet means when the claimant, the person who is claiming the property, he is connected with the deceased person only through the male line. They are being called as a agnet. And the example is, suppose great-great-grandson, he is claiming the property from the great-great-grandfather. Now, so far as the son, grandson, great-grandson, they can succeed the property right by birth. But so far as the great-great-grandson is concerned, he is connected with the propositus. Propositus means the person who is being dead through only male line. Since he is connected with the deceased or the propositus only through the male line, therefore they are being called as agnates. Now the second word, which is also equally important, and the word is being called as a cognate. What is the meaning of cognate? when the claimant is connected with the deceased person, not only through male line, but one female is interfering, then it is being called as a cognate. And the example is, suppose the claimant is daughter's son. Daughter's son, how he is connected with the propositus or deceased person? He is connected with the daughter. Daughter is the female. Therefore, the son who is claiming the property, he is claiming the property connecting through the daughter, and since the daughter is the female, therefore they are being classified as a cognate. So there are so many examples of the cognate. Daughter's son, may also be son's daughter's son. There are so many relations get that they are connected with female. If any female is coming in between the deceased person and the claimant, I am repeating again, if any female interfering in between the deceased person and the claimant, then the claimant shall be categorized as a cognate. If there is no any female, connecting line only constituting through the male, naturally they are being called as agnates. So this is the fundamental difference between the agnates and the cognates. This is the fundamental difference between the agnates and the cognate. Any doubt to any person? Agnates and cognate? अरे रिपीट क्या भाई, रिपीट तो यही है कि एग्रेट मीन्स जो मृतक से सीधे सीधे पुरुषों से जुड़ा हुआ है, यानी सन, ग्रैंडसन, ग्रेट ग्रैंडसन, ग्रेट ग्रेट ग्रैंडसन, so on so forth, they are connected through deceased person only through male line. कोई फीमेल बीच में नहीं है. लेकिन अगर कोई फीमेल बीच में आ गई तो, जैसे अगर डॉटर सन है, डॉटर सन किससे कनेक्टेड है? डॉटर से कनेक्टेड है. तो अगर नाना मर जाता है और उसकी प्रॉपर्टी में डॉटर सन जो है क्लेम करता है, तो इसे कहा जाएगा ये कोऑग्नेट है. क्यों कोऑग्नेट है? क्योंकि इसका लिंक किसके थ्रू है? डॉटर के थ्रू है. इसलिए इसे हम कोऑग्नेट कहते हैं, क्योंकि एक फीमेल बीच में इंटरफियर कर रही है. Are you getting? Any question? Any question? Because this is very important. These are the fundamentals which are required to be made clear. So today I am not going to discuss the Hindu Succession Act. Firstly, make clear these fundamentals. What is the coparcenary? What is the Mitachara coparcenary? What is the Dayabhag coparcenary? What are the incident? Incident means what are the characteristic of the Mitachara coparcenary? What are the characteristic of the Dayabhag coparcenary? And how the property will be defined, whether shares are defined or not, shares are fluctuating or not. All the things are required to be made clear in your mind. What is concept of agnates and what is the cognate? It is also required to be made clear in your mind. So firstly, be clear on this point, and tomorrow we shall open the discussion on the Hindu Succession Act.
सर सर सर्वाइवलशिप में और सक्सेशन में डिफरेंस बता दीजिए. सर्वाइवलशिप और सक्सेशन में.
सर्वाइवरशिप का मतलब ये होता है कि जो कोपार्टनर होते हैं वह जो है अगर जीवित बचते हैं तो वो प्रॉपर्टी सीधे जो है मृतक की सक्सीड कर जाते हैं. और सक्सेशन माने क्या होता है? सक्सेशन के नियम हिंदू सक्सेशन एक्ट में दिए गए हैं. अगर कोई मृतक मरता है तो दूसरा कोपार्टनर उसे जो है सर्वाइवरशिप उत्तरजीविता के आधार पर नहीं प्राप्त करता है, बल्कि जो सक्सेशन के नियम है वो अप्लाई करे. तो अगर आप मिताक्षरा में देखें, इससे क्लियर हो जाएगा आपको. मान लीजिए अगर पिता मरता है तो सर्वाइवरशिप का प्रिंसिपल, जितने कोपार्टनर बचे हुए हैं वो उसकी प्रॉपर्टी सक्सीड कर लेंगे. कोपार्टनर कौन है? सन, ग्रैंडसन, ग्रेट ग्रैंडसन. वही सक्सीड कर जाएंगे। लेकिन अगर जो है सक्सेशन का नियम लगेगा, तो अगर सक्सेशन का नियम लगेगा तो मिताक्षरा में भी पुत्री अगर है, डॉटर अगर है, तो वो भी प्रॉपर्टी में शेयर प्राप्त करेगी। तो ये डिफरेंस है सक्सेशन और सर्वाइवरशिप का। सर्वाइवरशिप मींस हु सर्वाइव्स, ही विल सक्सीड द प्रॉपर्टी। सक्सेशन का मतलब देयर आर सेट्स ऑफ द रूल्स व्हिच आर गिवन अंडर द हिंदू सक्सेशन एक्ट, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट रूल द सक्सेशन विल टेक इन प्लेस। एनी मोर क्वेश्चन? नो भाई।
सर आप सर्वाइवरशिप में आप बोले सन, ग्रैंडसन और ग्रेट ग्रैंडसन, सर उसमें डॉटर भी हो सकता है क्या?
नहीं, अभी तो नहीं है मिताक्षरा में, बाद में 2005 में जोड़ी गई है। लेकिन अभी अपने दिमाग में आप इतना बना के चलें कि जो है डॉटर को ओरिजिनल मिताक्षरा में को पार्टनर नहीं माना जाता था। ओके,
यस सर।
so now I think that time is over. Please disconnect yourselves.